South Africa lays to rest anti-apartheid icon and Nelson Mandela's former wife Winnie Mandela with full state honors at a stadium funeral in Soweto on Saturday. Tens of thousands of mourners burst into loud cheers as the casket carrying her remains was wheeled into the stadium, less than 2 kilometers from her home. The casket draped with the multicolored South African flag was placed in the middle of the 37,500-seater stadium in front of a stage, decked in white and yellow flowers. Mourners dressed in the colors of the ruling African National Congress, ANC, as well those of the radical opposition Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, sang "There's No One Like Winnie," an adapted popular liberation struggle song. The ceremony concludes 10 days of national mourning, during which time thousands of South Africans have paid tribute to the mother of the nation at her Soweto home and elsewhere. Winnie Mandela, who died in Johannesburg aged 81 on April 2 after a long illness, has been celebrated for helping keep Nelson Mandela's dream of a non-racial South Africa alive while he was behind bars for 27 years. She was one of the most profound leaders of the ANC, said 53-year-old mourner Brian Magkaza. She fought from beginning to the end. Go well, Mama. EFF supporter Mufundwe Muhadi, 31, said Mama fought for our freedom. It is important to honor her and continue the fight. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, who took office 2 months ago, is leading the mourners at the pre-burial service in Soweto's Orlando Stadium. Former South African Presidents Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki are also attending the funeral. Mourners booed when the presence of scandal-tainted Zuma was publicly acknowledged. Foreign dignitaries at the funeral include the leaders of Namibia, Swaziland, and the Republic of Congo, as well as American civil rights activist Jesse Jackson. She is truly the mother of South Africa, Jackson told journalists on Friday. The township of Soweto is hugely symbolic in South Africa as it became a crucible of black resistance against white minority rule, which ended with elections in 1994. Winnie Mandela's husband became the first black president of democratic South Africa, but she refused to follow many other struggle-era politicians who moved from townships like Soweto to formerly white-only suburbs after the end of apartheid. Instead, she remained embedded in the community where she met Nelson Mandela at a bus stop in 1957. After the formal service, Winnie Mandela's body will be buried 40 kilometers, 25 miles, north of Soweto, at a privately run graveyard in Johannesburg's upmarket Fourways suburb where 2 of her great-grandchildren are also buried. The funeral closes the final chapter in the history of a woman who was exalted for her fearless defiance of apartheid rule but also implicated in violence and corruption in later life. In 1991, she was convicted for kidnapping and